Hello, hello, hello. My name is Nakia. Welcome to my channel. It is that time of year already. I'm excited because this is my second time getting to do the mid-year freakout tag. Last year was my first, and I actually already was prepared. I knew it was coming. Last year it caught me off guard. I just saw people's videos popping up and was like, wait a minute, I need to jump in on this. But this year, I'm pretty early, ready to go. So let's just jump right on into this book tag. And I will have the original book tag link down below. It was created by Earl Grey Books. Love that name. So yeah, I'll have the link, but I will also have the questions linked below too, in case you want to do this tag yourself. So question number one, got them all here on my phone. Best book you've read so far in 2022. If you've been here a minute, this will come as no surprise, but Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I just fell in love with that book, this book, fantasy book, magic. I loved every bit of it. Urban fantasy, which I've realized is more my thing. Not into the high fantasy, but in case you don't know, this is about a young lady named Amari. Her brother has gone missing and people think he's dead, but she does not. She believes that he's out there somewhere. And one day she goes into his room and finds a ticking briefcase. Inside the ticking briefcase is an invitation to the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. Now, Amari is like, I don't know what this invitation is, but I think it has something to do with my brother's disappearance. So she decides to go. And of course, while she's there, she discovers she has supernatural abilities, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's kids who don't want her there. She is also investigating what happened to her brother, so there's that mystery. And again, like I said, I loved every minute of it. It just gave me all the magic that I wanted, the characters, just everything. So I can't wait for book 2 that is coming out, I believe, in August. But yes, favorite one so far. Question number 2, best sequel you've read so far in 2022. Now, I've only read 2 sequels. Thought I'd read more, but no. I read Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, and then the second book in the Helldiver series, Ghosts. And I have to give it to Helldivers Book 2, Ghosts. Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, it just didn't have the same pacing as the first book for me. Finley Donovan is about a woman who is a writer, and one day she's meeting her agent. They're at a Panera, and she's discussing the plot to her next book, and a woman overhears her and thinks she is a murderer for hire and propositions her with a large sum of cash to kill her husband. And Finley has to decide what she's going to do. Of course, she gets into all kind of shenanigans while investigating what's up with this lady and her husband, etc., etc. The first one ends off on a cliffhanger, and the second one picks up right where that one ended, and we go into what the first one set up. And I just wasn't as interested in the storyline for the second one. I still enjoyed the writing, but again, it just wasn't as entertaining for me as the first one. And then there was also way more romance in the second one that just really got on my nerve. But anyway, with Helldivers, I love it. I love the audiobook by R.C. Bray, but this one is a sci-fi book, sci-fi horror, my thing. And it takes place in a future world where we've had a World War III, and afterwards the world is just a mess. There's been radiation and all kind of stuff from nuclear explosions. And so the last of humanity are up in the air in these airships, but the ships can't last forever. So they need supplies and stuff. So they send teams of Helldivers to go down on the surface, get parts and things to keep the ships up in the air. But the surfaces are very dangerous. There's all kind of creatures, which is where the horror part comes in. Book 1, like Amari, left off on a cliffhanger, and we get into book 2, which I think fast forwards in time a bit because we have a young child who's in part 1, and in part 2, he's an adult, young adult. There is a character in number 1 who I love, who was not in book 2, so I missed that part of the story, but I still enjoyed it, still loved the audiobook. It was still action-packed, still kept me on my toes. I was still fussing at characters and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting ready to read book 3 this month, so I just love the series. So yes, I again have to give it to Helldivers. Question number 3. New release you haven't read yet, but want to. I have a long list. I have done 2 anticipated 2022 releases videos so far, so you can go check them out on my channel, or I will link them below. But a few that I'm like, okay, I really need to get to these books are The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentile. This is a murder mystery. A woman gets murdered in the library, and we have to figure out what happened to her. So I love a murder mystery. If you don't know, now you do. I'm also really looking forward to The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkauf. This one I'm just waiting for the winter time because it takes place in the winter and it's snowy, isolation setting, I believe, thriller, mystery. So like I said, I can't wait till winter to get to that one. And lastly at the top of my list is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I hope I'm saying that right. This is a horror book and I have just been hearing so many good things. I just have to get to it. June is my birthday month, so I always want to try to read books that I know I'm going to like in June. That one may become August, maybe top of the list. I just know it's a horror and it has to do with this child who is drawing these pictures that he's seeing things or some things talking to him. I don't know, but there's pictures in the book. And like I said, I can't wait to read it. And it's coming soon. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I already said the sequel to Amari and the Night Brothers, Amari and the Great Game. And of course, I cannot wait for the next Blake Crouch book, Upgrade. I've talked about all these books in my most recent anticipated releases video. It was for the second half of the year. So all of these, I gave synopsis and went into more detail with these. So right now, I'm just going to do it real quick so we can keep this moving. And then lastly, I'm really excited for Secluded Cabin Sleep 6 by Lisa Unger. It says it's a locked room thriller. I just read a novella by her, I think like a month ago, and I really liked her writing. So I'm really looking forward to that. You always have me at locked room. You say that, I'm in. Question number 5, biggest disappointment this year. I've had quite a few. And I take this question the way it means. It's not the worst book of the year. It's just books that I had really high hopes for and it just really let me down. So one would be Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. The premise was just so good. This couple going away on this trip for their anniversary. The husband suffers from facial blindness. They both have secrets. And of course, because you give a character facial blindness, that has to play into the plot twists and whatnot. Unfortunately, it just did not do it for me. I did not like the plot twist. I didn't like the characters. I just liked the setting. And I kept reading to just figure out what was going to happen and all of that. But their marital drama, I just wasn't here for it. And I usually don't read domestic thrillers for that reason. But I really was hoping this would prove me wrong. And clearly it did not. And then my other biggest disappointment was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I still enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars, but Recursion was like a 4.5. I think it was one of my top books of 2021. So I just knew Dark Matter was gonna be like 4 or 5 stars. Plus everybody loves that book and said they like it more than Recursion. And I was surprised I was the opposite. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. But as I said, I still enjoyed it. It just fell apart for me towards the end. And I can't remember what it was about right now. So that goes to tell you something. Question number 6, biggest surprise of the year so far. This one will probably surprise you with my answer. It surely surprised me because this book came from a video that I did where my daughter planned my TBR books for the month of April. And when I saw this book, I was like, okay. It's gonna be here on the screen. Companions of the Night by Companions of the Night by Vivian Van Velde. I mean, I think I ended up giving this book a 3, but that was good for me. I was entertained and it was a quick read. And I just thought I was really not going to enjoy this book because it was YA, dealt with romance and vampires. And I had not read a book yet dealing with vampires or romance. So I was just like, what you set me up for? But I said this in my wrap-up video, and I also did a try a chapter vlog with all the books that she picked out for me. But this one I went into a lot of detail because I finished it in that vlog. But I said then that it really didn't have that much vampire-ness to it. The story is basically there's this girl named Carrie who goes to a laundromat. It's a 24-hour laundromat to retrieve her brother's stuffed animal that he left there when they were there doing laundry. And when she gets there, she's looking for his stuffed animal. She does find it, but then a group of guys bust in and they have this man hostage and they tell her that he's a vampire and they tell her she can't leave. Nobody's leaving because we need to prove that this man is a vampire. So anyway, they end up escaping and then she goes home and finds that her father and her brother have been kidnapped. And now this young man, Ethan is his name, he has to help her find her father and brother, and this all has to do with vampires and stuff like that. So like I said, there was no coffins, no biting of the neck, no bats, nothing like that. So like I said, it was small with the vampire side of it. It was more about like her being trapped with him and trying to figure out if he was going to kill her and that kind of thing. So like I said, but I enjoyed it. It was pretty fun. So I was surprised. Question number 7, favorite new author, debut, or new to you? So for favorite new authors, first up, we have, of course, B.B. Alston, who wrote Amari and the Night Brothers. I loved his writing. It kept me entertained, kept me hooked, and I'm just very picky when it comes to magic systems and books. I have found, like I said, the high fantasy ones don't work for me. They're just always over my head. But this one it was creative, it was inventive. I mean, it was similar to Harry Potter, but he did some things that were different, and I just enjoyed his writing. I loved the way he wrote Amari and all the characters. I was just invested, and it just took me to another place. And then Nita Prose, who wrote The Maid. I love the way she wrote Molly, who is the main character in the book, The Maid. And it's basically a book about this woman named Molly who works at a hotel. And one day she goes in to clean the room of one of the guests there, and she finds one of the guests dead. Now, it's a husband and wife, but like I said, the husband is dead, the wife is nowhere to be found. And because she finds the body, she is a person of interest. They just need to question her, figure out what she knows, what's going on. But this one, I thought it was going to be like a locked room mystery, because I think that's what the synopsis says, but no. This was just a character study. This was a very character-driven book, but I loved it. If you're not here for Molly, you will not enjoy this book. I loved Molly. I loved being in her world. I loved being in her mind. I just really enjoyed Nita Prose's writing, and I can't wait to see what else she does next. I will probably be on the lookout for her next book. This question, I hope I have an answer for it one year, but it hasn't happened yet. Question number 8. Newest fictional crush. I do not get crushes on characters from books. I just haven't had it yet. I mean, even when I'm reading books that have romances in them, I usually don't care about the guy. I'm always just like, okay, I guess I'm going along with this. I haven't fallen in love with any of them myself, so sorry, has yet to happen. Question number 9. I tried to make these different and, choose different books, but I haven't read that many so far this year, and there's going to be some overlap. This is one of those questions. Newest favorite character, Molly the Maid. I pretty much gave that away in question number 7. As I said, I loved her. When I just feel so connected to a character that I get upset when somebody's upsetting them, I just really felt for her. I didn't want nothing to happen to her. And like I said, that is all due to Nita Prose's writing, because other than a secondary character in Project Hail Mary last year, this is probably one of my favorite characters I've read ever so far. Question number 10, a book that made you cry. This one, I think it's just me, because I haven't heard anyone else say they had this experience, but The Maid by Nita Prose. Yes, this is the answer to quite a few of my questions, but I just love this book. I gave it 5 stars, so it answers a lot of these questions. One thing about this book is that we find out Molly's grandmother passed, and she just taught her a lot of life lessons and helped her to become the woman that she is and helped her to understand things about the world. The way she's written, it appears as though she is autistic, but the author never says. And I know some people had a problem with that. It didn't bother me, but her grandmother really helps her to navigate life in that way. And so there was a part of the book where Molly was thinking about her grandmother's last days and spending time with her and how she passed. And it just really made me emotional. So yeah, it just really touched me. But again, I think I'm the only one, because I haven't heard anybody else say that, but I don't care. Yes, I cried. Question number 11, a book that made you happy. This is another one that came from my daughter's TBR video. And this would be Helldivers, the first book by Nicholas Sansbury Smith. From page 1, I was into it. You can see my reaction after I read the first chapter in my try a chapter video. But like I said, I just love the main character, Xavier, who is a Helldiver, and the action. There were so many other plot points and storylines going on, other characters. But what really made me happy about this book was the audiobook. As I said, R.C. Bray, I love his acting and just the way he did the audiobook, all the voices he gave the characters. That is the only way I can read it, is listening to the audiobook in tandem with reading the book, because I just can't do it without listening to him read this audiobook. And I also just listen to it when I'm doing other things around the house. But like I said, that book just made me so happy. I loved it. Question number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. If you're new here, I do not really purchase physical books. I do buy books on my Kindle. I just don't really keep physical books by choice. I just don't want a huge collection. So I have not bought any books so far this year. I have been going back and forth about buying a secondhand copy of Amari and the Night Brothers, because I love the book and I love the cover, but I haven't broken down and bought it yet. So yeah, I don't have it yet so far this year. And we made it to the last question, which Hold on to your seat. Question number 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I know everybody says this, but how much time do you have? I got a large list. But I have 2 videos that I've done about books that I'm looking forward to. One is the top of my TBR, all backlist titles, and of course, all my 2022 anticipated releases. So from my backlist titles, I need to read The Screaming Staircase, the first book in the Lockwood & Co. series by Jonathan Stroud. I am waiting for fall because I read a little preview of it and it feels very fall-like to me. They talked about coats and cool weather, so I just think I'll be more in the vibe and mood for it in the fall time. And that one is basically like there's ghosts haunting the towns and whatnot, and there's some kids who are helping get rid of these ghosts. Something like that. It also involves magic, so I'm here for it. The second book is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I have not read one of her books yet, and I feel so left out. I know this one deals with some kids who get powers and become villains or something like that. So once again, magic, but also the villainry has me intrigued. And then lastly, I really want to read The Paris Labyrinth by Gilles. I'm not going to try and say his last name. The book is here on the screen, but it is a historical fiction and mystery, and it just seems so cozy. After reading The Night Circus, I just realized that I am really into historical fiction, but blended with some other genres. So historical fiction and mystery, or historical fiction and horror, something like that. But yeah, I just love these books that take you back in time to where, you know, we had gas lamps and horse-drawn carriages and stuff like that. It just takes me to another place, and I love it. So that one has all of that, and I'm looking forward to it. And I got to get it read because I think I had this on my list since 2021. Well, it has been on there. Anyway. And as far as new releases, I have not been hearing the best things, but I still want to read this and see for myself. But Book of Night by Holly Jackson. This is an urban fantasy, also dealing with magic. Those are buzzwords for me. League of Liars by Astrid Schultz. Fantasy and mystery. I don't really remember anything else, but I just know I want to read it. It was top of my list. 2022 releases, so looking forward to it. And another fantasy and historical fiction, Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. So yeah, clearly I'm trying to read more fantasy books by the end of the year. It's going to be difficult too because spooky season is coming up, and I know I'll be focusing on other things during that time. But I got July and August to get some of these books in, and I need to do it. So yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that wraps up my mid-year freak out tag for 2022. This is my second one, as I said earlier. I'm so excited. As I said, I will have the tag questions down below, so you can feel free to do the tag. And if you do, please let me know so I can check out your video. And you know, let me know any of your favorite books so far of this year, favorite characters. I would like to know. And if you don't have a comment and you just want to let me know that you made it this far in the video and or show me some love, you can leave me a flower emoji for my pretty flowers I have here, preferably something to match these, pink or purple. And as always, ways you can support my channel are always linked below. I think that is it for this video. So until next time, snuggle up in your hideaway with a good book, unplug as much as possible, be kind to all kind, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.